we have to separate here Advaita Vedanta from Jnana Yoga. Advaita Vedanta is a particular kind of knowledge. Jnana Yoga is a particular kind of practice. The truth of Advaita Vedanta is the truth which is non-dual, the knowledge about non-duality, the knowledge about the unity which is there in everything, which is the truth of the self. That truth is the same whether you are a jnani or a tantric. It is not different in any way. If I talk about it to my teacher in Nepal, who is totally a tantric, it will not be different than if I would talk to, let's say, Ramana Maharishi. He would still be alive, no? Same, exactly same, no difference. The difference then only comes when we talk about methods, about reaching that union, about finding the self, about keeping the self in our awareness while living and all these things. There we have so many different methods, and there Jnana Yoga is very different from Tantra. But both are totally compatible, and you might say that Tantra is a expansion of the techniques of Jnana Yoga. The techniques of Jnana Yoga are mostly focused on the truth itself. And yeah, why not? No? Since that's where you want to go, try if you can do it in that way. Try if you can, keep the awareness of the self always in any situation, which basically also means you are not thinking, and then, see if that works. So, yeah, that can be done. And then, that is what the jnani will always put forward as technique. But if it doesn't work, and I think for 99.9% of the people, it's not enough to totally self-realize, let's say, to totally become enlightened, to totally live from that truth. Then also Ramana or other teachers, they will say, okay, you can try some breathing, you can try some mantra, you can try Tantra, you can try whatever you want to try, where you are actually preparing yourself a little better to exactly do the same thing that the jhanis are teaching you to do, to always see the truth and always stay with the truth. By basically harmonizing the energy. And so, harmonizing the energy, this is, for example, alternate nostril breathing, harmonizing solar and lunar, makes it much more easy to stop mind. It means maybe working with the power of mantra, which will work on the energy body and the subconscious mind, and there make the emotions a little bit more calm. And maybe even, do all kinds of rituals to work with the spiritual world, so that input from there or support from there is also more positive and more bringing us towards the truth. So in that way, all these things are complementary, but of course can also be a sidetracking, something in which people get lost and forget the essence. which happens often enough in Tantra, when a tantric ceases to be a tantric yogi. When Tantra is only used for worldly objectives, which is also possible, like healing is a worldly objective, or promoting the growth of the crops on the field in tantric way is also possible. No? This is a worldly objective. But so, okay, there the whole idea gets a little bit lost, which doesn't make it bad, but it's a different thing. But so in a tantric yogi, that same truth and that same very basic technique called Jnana Yoga is still there. Only it is helped, no, by other techniques as they are needed. No? As we find in ourselves certain blockages, certain imbalances, we try to balance them. And the whole discussion about, should we do it only by awareness of our awareness, or is it also allowed to use other means to kind of come to that awareness of our awareness? This is a totally useless discussion, and very typically Western. This actually in India not very serious, because it's obvious. If you can't do it, you try to find some way so that you are able to do it. Only don't get lost on the way, in thinking that is it. That is often, of course, in yoga then a problem. Let's say that people use certain techniques with Kundalini, develop certain powers, and these powers actually make the problem bigger, the problem of the ego. It makes the ego feel more important, and in that way, feel maybe bigger than other people, more enlightened than other people, and in that way create a new problem. So my teacher Arish Johari definitely always said, siddhis, you should ignore them, powers, you should ignore them, because they're a big ego trap. They're the biggest ego trap. Also in the Leela board game, it's the biggest snake that is there, or at least not the biggest, because they're two same size, let's say, but the one who is ultimate egotism comes in 7 chakra level because of those powers. So it's about taking a running jump. You can jump from standstill, maybe 2 meters, and if you run first and then jump, maybe you jump 5 meters. It's same thing. If you want to stop mind and just be, like as a meditation practice, just sit there. Maybe without any preparation, you can do it, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. With some preparation, with some reading, with some mantra, maybe whatever it is that works for you, then maybe you can do half a minute, 1 minute. That's all we're talking about. And it does not matter how you reach the goal. As long as you reach it, don't forget it. That is what you are doing. That is a little bit the danger, of course. But as long as you keep the goal in mind, it's very typical, I feel, and I see that in so many Western teachers. That is, once you have a true experience of the self, and then I'm not really talking about 10 minutes of inner silence, talking about a real, full experience of the self. Then you come out of that, and then you are so surprised at the simplicity of it. Like, you can't believe that it's taking you so long to get to that point. It's like, what have I been doing? I've had that feeling too. But later on you realize, yeah, but all of that still was necessary to bring me to that point. Where indeed what came was so simple that it was, unbelievable that I couldn't have seen it before. But yeah, that's just because many things prepared me for that moment. And I feel that is why many of these teachers are then saying that. And I'm a little tired of it because I encounter too many people who have gone then on this path of pure beingness and no help allowed. All else seen as an ego game, all else seen as a sidetracking, and becoming so unhappy because of it, becoming so frustrated because of it, because they can't do it. Yeah, they can do it for 10 seconds. They can get that feeling after hearing a good lecture, they're like, yeah, I got it. And then half an hour later, they get a phone call, somebody's angry with them, and they totally lose it. Because they have no tools with which to master that energy of anger, which is also there, no? And so then we have to learn that. And there are so many ways in which we can be disturbed and no longer see that truth. So that means many things we have to work with, many inner blockages we have to resolve. And whichever way, we can do that, we do it. So it's such a good story, yeah. In my book, Love Your Ego, I call it the doctor who heals everything or cures everything with just one pill, no? We all like a doctor like that. We have a problem, we go there, he gives us one pill, problem solved. So that's the kind of attitude that these teachers are then having. That's the kind of, I'm sorry, error story that they are bringing forward. Oh, if you just let go everything, if you just, stop thinking, if you just be, everything is solved. And of course, it's true. Of course, it's true. If you can do it. If you can't do it, thousands and thousands of years of yoga tradition have brought so many ways in which you can do it. So many ways in which you can unravel this complex being that you are, and which does not so easily go with the finger snap, no? Because, it's stuck in the subconscious. That's also why I so much emphasize the importance of the subconscious. If it would only be a matter of consciousness, then you hear the truth. It is there clear in your consciousness. So then you just, know it. And that is then how you are. But then the experience is, no, that is then not how you are, because soon something again comes up from the subconscious, destroying the whole thing. And then you even in your conscious mind doubt that story again, even though before you felt it was totally true. Because something subconscious is not agreeing with it. The reptile brain does not agree with it. So then, yeah, you get stuck. And that's not necessary. Dvaita Advaita. There is non-duality. There is also duality. If your non-dual philosophy does not include duality, then what is it? It's just a good story. It has to work with life as it is. It has to work with us, the complex beings that we are. Otherwise, what's the use? Otherwise, it's just a story. is actually then also one of these stories which are, mostly making people feel very comfortable for a while. But nothing practical. Not really showing them the way to live life in this fashion, in the yogic way. Yeah. In any case, also, the very basic argument used there is false. And with that I mean the very basic argument to discover the self as absolute truth is the fact that it is never changing, right? That is always the main thing. No? All else is changing. So why would you care about it? No, that is the main thing. But that's what we are also talking about here. The power of sound, the power of time, the power of speech. All these powers that are the Mahavidyas, they are eternal, they are universal, they are always present, and they are expressions of that one truth or of the self in manifestation. So they are there to be used, not to be ignored, and they have that power to bring us back always to the self. Whether we use the mantra, whether we use timelessness, whether we use speech, whether we use the burning, the burning of cleaning. So many people really need that. So many people have been polluting their body because of how they are raised, let's say, by society. That really that amount, that impurity, it has to go. If you want them to think straight, if you want them to experience the self. So use that fire, that purifier. So all these powers are there to bring us. And they are, as I said, as eternal as the self, as true as the self. Only, okay, in manifestation, they are in a changing way that they are coming. The power of fire goes up and down. The power of speech, it goes up and down. So in that way, yeah, it changes, but it always stays also. It's always present. So that is then what you can call Tantric Advaita. Non-duality in the energy, non-duality in manifestation, non-duality in creation, not just outside of it. And precisely because it is non-dual, it brings us to the essence.